If you know data based on data, real data, what your body blueprint really is, you're going to stop guessing what to eat. You're going to stop trying random diets without getting anywhere. And you're going to really stop like blaming yourself and guilting yourself for making the same mistakes every holiday season. Instead, you will become intentional. You will know which foods actually fuel you, which foods inflame you. You'll know what to do with sugar, how much sugar, carbs, or alcohol your body really can handle biologically, and how to optimize yourself, not restrict yourself.
Welcome to Health Decoded, your number one source for real health information, with your hosts, Dr. Alessi and Matt Tack.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Health Decoded. I'm your host, Dr. Alessi, and I'm excited to talk about something today that I think everyone needs to hear and that we've been hearing a lot of people talking about and asking questions about lately is how to stay healthy during the holiday season. Or do you just let yourself go and kind of fall off the wagon for the next 8 weeks and then try to rebuild all the progress that you've made this year? And I think everyone can agree that that second option is probably not the way to go about it. So I really wanted to kind of just get into it on, the questions we hear are often around how to shop healthier, right? When it comes to groceries, how to eat healthier, how to have a little bit more self-control when we're at a function or a party or a family event. And there's things on the table that are just within arm's reach. And, how do we fight back against that? And there's some really cool ways that we can hack and take control of not just our mental, but also our biology and on a physiological level that will lower us wanting to have cravings and make those impulsive choices. So excited to talk about this. Really it's the biggest thing here is that our metabolism is what is at stake when we abuse food. And I think if you're a listener for a long time now, you understand that concept. But if not, your metabolism is what really regulates really how effective your body is at managing caloric intake and then utilizing that and expending that as energy versus or storing it, right, as fat. And so the biggest thing here is, all year long you work hard. You've been putting in effort, and the patients we work with and our clients, they've been consistent. They've been doing the right things to make choices to get healthier. Why sacrifice that? Why throw all that away just because of the holidays, which come around every year, right? So it's a bit redundant, if you will. And so, it's like November hits and then suddenly everybody's diet just goes to crap. And so what I really want to get into is like, it doesn't have to be where you're skipping things or you're not going to events or you're missing out, but how can we just be a little bit better and how can we make smarter choices? And so again, it's every year we see this in the clinic where people are undoing months and months of progress in a couple of weeks because they're going to become so inflamed. The hormones are going to get all dysregulated, thrown all over the place. Digestion gets destroyed by the sugar, and people have cravings. And again, that progress that you've made over the course of a year or months has just been destroyed. And so then we're trying to dig ourselves out of this hole. So let's start a little bit with what is actually happening, right? When we hit what we call the holiday spiral or a downfall. And it's really the sugar and stress are probably the two big things, the two S's that we talk about, because that just creates so much inflammation. When you load up on sugar, alcohol, processed carbohydrates, you're spiking your insulin as well as your cortisol. These two hormones work together, and that's how they create inflammation. And this shows up with things like fatigue or bloating, more joint pain, maybe brain fog. And so the other things that happen are we get poor sleep, right? Maybe we're staying up later because we're at a party or we're at a function for too long and we're just pushing, a little bit outside of our normal circadian rhythm. And so what happens is less sleep leads to more secretion of what's called ghrelin, which is the hunger hormone. And then less leptin, which is actually the hormone that tells your body that you're satiated and you're not hungry. And so you're literally, by wrecking your sleep, you're wiring yourself to crave more unhealthy foods and make those choices. What then happens is that our hormones start to get dysregulated from this. The sleep is so important to controlling our body's hormone production. And if our body needs more cortisol, if we're spiking that, it's going to divert the production of hormones towards cortisol and away from other important hormones. And so just a few nights or even a few days of erratic eating and later nights can wreak some havoc on things like testosterone. It can really lower testosterone. It can disrupt your thyroid conversion into usable thyroid hormone. It can spike estrogen and even slow your metabolism. And so then this is why people, they gain weight, even if they're not eating that much more, they're just eating the wrong things and the timing. And so then this leads to the immune system getting weaker. And we all know that everybody gets sick this time of year. And it's just so rampant all the time. And people wonder why. Well, it's because we're really just tanking our immune system. And so the one final thing and Matt Tack talks about this all the time, is the trap of like, I'll just start in January. I'll be okay, right? I'll just let myself go for the next couple months and then I'll just pick it back up. Well, this is probably the most damaging because that's now a mindset thing, and your body goes where your mind tells it to go. And so if it's, hey, I'll just wait until next year, then what's to say, oh, January comes around, I'll just wait till February. I'll just wait till March. I'll pick it up next week. We just continue to push this off. Now we have lost control of our own biology, and we're going down a rabbit hole of just making those unhealthy decisions. There's some really cool data actually out of the New England Journal of Medicine that found that the average adult gains around 5 to 10 pounds over the holidays, sometimes more, right? That's an average. And nearly 70% of that weight is never lost again. So it's, these permanent changes that can happen because we've not only made some decisions that weren't ideal for our health in the moment, but habits that stuck and became our habitual things for the rest of the year. And so it's the inflammation, the poor sleep, the disrupted hormones that then lead to a metabolic dysregulation that the body then stores that fat. And so, your metabolism, it doesn't take off the holidays, right? Even if you get off work, your metabolism does not. So how you treat your body from November to January really determines how you're going to feel for the first half of the new year. And what I want to get into today very much so is that we don't talk about perfection ever. The goal is not perfection. It's being more intentional. And so if you can stay 70 to 80% consistent through the holidays, you will enter January ahead of everyone else and not behind, and ahead of where you thought you were going to be as well. And so let's get into, in this next part here, a little bit about like more actionable. How can we actually eat healthy during the holidays? Because everyone's probably wondering, like, what is this guy talking about right now? How, right? What is the how? So now that we've established why it's important to remain healthier over the holidays, let's talk about the how, because the goal isn't to avoid every treat or, live like a monk. The goal is to navigate the holidays with strategy and a plan and some awareness, right? If we can be self-aware, we can get that balance. And so, I like this blueprint for like the holiday plate, right? We call it, every event you go to, there's food everywhere. And how do we load up, right? Or not load up? And so keep it simple, not restrictive. So here's the blueprint I give to my patients and that I'll give to you. Number one is front loading protein. So every plate should have 25 to 40 grams of protein, ideally in, lean meats, and healthy options, maybe eggs, things like that. So prioritize protein first. This will lead to less overeating and hunger pangs later. The next step, make half of the plate colorful and fiber, right? And so roasted veggies, salads, fruit, maybe root vegetables. Fiber will slow your glucose spike and support your digestion. And you can enjoy your carbs, just be smart, right? So if you want stuffing, macaroni, pie, that kind of thing, just make sure you're combining with protein or some fat so you're not spiking the blood sugar that's just going to crash later. So again, being smarter. And then what I call picking your indulgence. So, ideally we don't need bread, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pie, all cookies, cocktails, all at one time. Maybe choose one thing that's like the best one that you like, and enjoy that, right? And then enjoy it guilt-free. That way you're not, at the end of that meal feeling lousy, feeling inflamed and really regretting the decision. And so, if I could sum it up, it's like you can have what you want, just maybe not all of it all at one time. And that's realistically just a healthier approach. Now, when it comes to shopping, right, a lot of us still are going to be grocery shopping and maybe shopping for these parties if we're hosting, that things like that. When you're shopping for meals or groceries, use this framework, okay? Stick to the perimeter of the grocery store. Anyone who's been to a grocery store knows that the perimeter is where the produce, the meats, and the healthier whole foods are. So produce, meats, eggs, even seafood. These are better choices. When you get into the aisles, you're going to get more of the packaged, processed, even hyper processed foods. If you are buying processed foods, avoid added sugars. Check for the seed oils, canola oil, vegetable oils, artificial sweeteners, dyes, gums, those things that are going to create inflammation and obviously mess with the digestion and absorption in the gut. And even the quote unquote healthy or organic things that you see, it can be organic and still be loaded with sugar. So don't fall for the marketing traps that these companies use to market healthy foods that are actually unhealthy. Again, whole foods, it's very difficult to overeat whole foods. Go try to overeat steak, chicken, and some broccoli. You're going to get to a point where you're good. And so it's very easy to overeat on processed hyperpalatable foods like chips and things like that. And then, strategic eating at parties. This is another good one, right? You don't have to be the guy who brings his Tupperware to meal prep, right? But, eating before you go, that's a good tactic. I actually just did this yesterday. I went to a Friendsgiving and I ate a little bit before I left. I had a protein shake and some chicken. And then when I got there, it's not like I was starving and just loading up. I made, I ate some salad and I ate some of the good stuff too, but I didn't eat a ton. And so, Greek yogurt, protein shake, maybe a handful of nuts, things that are going to give you some satiety. Next thing is make sure you're scouting the room, right? Like doing some recon and having a plan versus just going for it. And, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get some of that. I'm going to get that. But next thing you know, your plate is loaded up and you're probably going to end up eating it all. So, you don't have to just grab the first thing. Look around, pick the protein first. What am I going to get for protein? What colorful veggies am I going to have with some fiber? And then what other things can I enjoy a bit of? And then, I tend to think alcohol doesn't serve any purpose being ingested, but if you are going to be drinking, the hydration rule. So drink a glass of water before each alcoholic beverage. It will probably lead to you drinking less because you'll be more full, and it will keep you hydrated. So that's a great balancing tip there. And then some really good hacks if you're going to be, going somewhere and you tend to have issues with blood sugar or want to avoid those blood sugar spikes. And these aren't gimmicky either. These are really cool, scientifically backed things you can do. But apple cider vinegar, you can get capsules of it. You can, take shots of it, but 1 to 2 tablespoons before a meal will blunt the glucose spike and improve your sensitivity to insulin. Going for a walk for 10 to 15 minutes after a meal. Great idea for lowering blood sugar and your body processing that better. There's actually a study out of diabetes research in 2022. Post-meal walking reduces glucose significantly better than pre-meal exercise. So you've ingested this meal, whatever it is, it has some carbohydrates, go for a walk after. Starting your meal with veggies. I like fruit or veggies first. It gives our body those fibers and things that are going to slow down glucose absorption. Using things like digestive bitters or lemon water is going to stimulate your body's stomach acid to be produced and the enzymes. You will digest your food better. You can use enzymes. We prescribe enzymes to our patients all the time. Magnesium before bed. This will support sleep, relaxation, and control of glucose, and electrolytes in the morning. Again, this is going to reduce cravings even later in the day. So the overall strategy should always be consistency with some flexibility. You don't need to be perfect, but let's try to avoid the two extremes, right? All or nothing. I'm just going to eat everything now and then fix it later in January. Or the perfectionism, where it's like I'm avoiding every single treat and eating nothing but protein. You're going to fall off that wagon and usually fall off pretty hard. The middle path is more sustainable. We call it 80-20 principle. 80% of the time, you're doing really well. You're making the right decisions. You're clean. 20% of the time, you can enjoy some not healthier options and be okay. It's when we get away from the 80-20 to more 50-50 that we tend to have a problem. And so, if you can commit to this through the holidays, I promise you, you are going to feel better come the new year. You're going to feel better about yourself. You're going to have a better jump start to everything. And I think a little bit of maybe a unpopular opinion is that we need to stop thinking of it as like, oh, the new year, right? Oh, the new year is when I'll kick it in. Just think of it as like the next day, right? It's just another day. It's just another year. Life is going to keep going. And if we put too much stigma on it, as if it's like this new year, new me type of thing, that just puts so much pressure on ourselves. Just be healthy, right? And make these decisions consistently for as long as we can, for forever, ideally. And so let's get into some other cool ways, ways that maybe are a little bit more, little less mainstream, but functional medicine focused that can help. But before we do that, let's take a quick word from one of our sponsors. Hey, Health Decoded listeners, Dr. Alessi here. Let me ask you a serious question. Are you tired of waiting until something goes wrong to finally see a doctor? At Alessi Functional Health, we take a different approach, the right approach. We believe true healthcare isn't about chasing symptoms. It's about preventing them in the first place. That's why we created the Alessi Total Care Program. This is a functional medicine-based membership that gives you proactive, personalized care year-round. You'll get access to comprehensive blood work and functional testing, custom doctor-grade nutraceuticals, deep discounts on labs, protocols, and follow-ups, as well as 24/7 direct access to your doctor, not just a 10-minute checkup that ends with another prescription. And here's the best part. As a Health Decoded listener, you'll get your first 3 months completely free when you sign up for an annual membership. That's on top of hundreds in savings already built into the program. This is your chance to take responsibility for your health and join a movement that's redefining what primary care should look like. Head on over to alessifunctionalhealth.com, click on our services tab, and go to Total Care. Learn more about this program and claim your exclusive podcast listener offer. Your health is your greatest asset. Let's protect it proactively. All right, welcome back. Now let's get into some of the fun stuff because everybody wants to know, right? What's the best diet? Is it keto, paleo, Mediterranean, carnivore? Like what should we do? And here's the truth. There isn't a perfect diet. There's only the perfect diet for your biology. So everybody's different. We all have different genetic predispositions. We have different epigenetic predispositions, meaning the way we were raised, the environment we were brought up in, controls how our body is going to respond to certain dietary. That's just the way it is. Look at different ethnicities and people from different areas of the world respond differently to things. You wonder, how can Asian people eat rice as a primary staple of their meal and honestly not have the issues with obesity that we have in our country? And it's because their genetics are conditioned with that. Certain tribes that eat just meat, that's all they eat, and they are fine with their blood sugar, right? So it's really based on our genetics and epigenetics. And so the cool thing with functional medicine is we don't have to guess. We can actually test. And so a few of the ways we do that, some of the blood tests that we use that really matter is, looking for metabolic clues, using blood work for metabolic clues, like how does eating affect your blood sugar and your inflammation? So checking things like fasting insulin. What does my fasting insulin do? How do I make sure that that's not going to be an issue? My hemoglobin A1C, which basically is a 3-month average of your blood sugar. If this is creeping up, then the holiday season is going to hit a lot harder. And then things like lipids and inflammatory markers, your triglycerides, your HSCRP, which is C-reactive protein, and then homocysteine. These are inflammatory markers that can be exacerbated by sugary diet and stress and all that kind of things. There's a study from the Journal of Clinical Lipidology 2021. People with elevated triglycerides and CRP show significantly worse metabolic responses during high calorie seasons. So if you're going into the holidays and these levels are already elevated, you are going to have worse metabolic outcomes. You're going to feel worse. And so it's good to know, where do you stand if you haven't had blood work done in the last 6 months, or what I hear a lot is ever. People have, oh, I've never had my blood work done, to check for those things. Now is probably a good time. We always are proponents of staying ahead versus trying to react to a crisis. And so the next thing we do is functional gut testing. So how can your gut work for you, not against you? We run really cool tests called our deep gut scan, which is going to look for everything. It's going to look for, what is the ecosystem of your gut bacteria doing? I actually talked about this in a webinar that I did recently. You can go to our website, alessifunctionalhealth.com/gut. And that webinar is hosted there. Really great, breaks down kind of how this test looks for things like dysbiosis, SIBO, yeast or fungal overgrowths, parasites, leaky gut, inflammation, and even digestive enzyme deficiencies. Because if your gut is off, then even the healthy holiday foods are going to trigger things like bloating, fatigue, and inflammation. The next thing we look for, which is, this is where it gets really, really cool and really out of the box, is like genetic nutrition markers. So really your personalized blueprint for how are things affecting you. I actually just ran one of these on myself, and it's a really, really awesome test. Do you process caffeine fast or slow? Right? This can determine whether or not holiday coffee or cocktails are going to mess with your sleep system. Do you metabolize carbohydrates well, or does your body take longer? Right? Is it going to lead to more of a spike real quick? Is it going to slowly taper it off? Are you sensitive to saturated fats? Some people gain weight from the cheese boards, right? There's a ton of cheese everywhere, and others don't. Why? Why is that? And it's genetic. And then, is our body detoxifying? Do we have proper detoxification from within our genes, like the MTHFR gene, the COMT, and the GST gene, which tell us whether you're good at clearing alcohol, toxins, hormones, or if your body needs extra support. Really cool study out of Nutrients Journal in 2020 said that personalized nutrition based on genetics leads to significantly better weight loss, metabolic health, and dietary adherence compared to just generic diets. So again, it's not a one size fits all. You can't expect that one diet's going to work for everyone if we have different genetic predispositions, or what we call SNPs, different SNPs off our genes. Now, the reason we do this with functional medicine is because data creates freedom, not restriction, right? If you know data, based on data, real data, what your body blueprint really is, you're going to stop guessing what to eat. You're going to stop trying random diets without getting anywhere. And you're going to really stop like blaming yourself and guilting yourself for making the same mistakes every holiday season. So instead, you will become intentional. You will know which foods actually fuel you, which foods inflame you. You'll know what to do with sugar, how much sugar, carbs, or alcohol your body really can handle biologically, and how to optimize yourself, not restrict yourself. That's what we need to focus on, is the positive, is how do we optimize things, not focus so much on like what you can't have, but what can you have? And so, in summary of that, it's most people are not failing because they're weak. Most people are failing because they don't have a plan and they're not following a diet that matches their metabolism. And so functional and genetic testing gives you an owner's manual for your body. It's like the owner's manual in your car. Hey, what does this thing take? What kind of fuel does this thing take, right? I got to make sure I put the right gasoline in, put the right tires on it, all of that. Once you have that, healthy holidays become easy. And so we're always doing really, really awesome tests here and getting great results in the clinics, and even virtually. We do a lot of telehealth with people all over the country. And so if you're interested, go to alessifunctionalhealth.com and look into our functional medicine lab testing. Book an appointment with me. Happy to do a free consultation to see if this is something that could help you. Just mention the podcast so we know to give you that free phone call or in person, and see if we can help you out. Now let's get into some of the more actionable things that we can do. So I always like to end with like, okay, what can you do today to start making change? And so this is where we get into the fun stuff, the biohacks. And so we're going to break this down into 3 buckets. So bucket number 1, before you eat, right? Front loading your health. So walking 10 to 15 minutes before a big meal, this is going to prime glucose metabolism. A really cool journal in Sports Medicine 2022 said short walks before meals significantly reduce post-meal glucose spikes. We talked about this earlier. Apple cider vinegar shots or capsules before a meal is going to slow the gastric emptying and reduce blood sugar spikes as well. Magnesium before bed on a busy night, hydration early in the day, and of course, prioritizing protein, eating 20 to 30 grams of protein before carbs and fats. And so this is going to stabilize blood sugar, calm cravings, and help you avoid that overeating that we do during the holidays. And so again, the order of eating actually matters more than the total calories. If you prioritize protein first, you'll be less hungry after and make those quick decisions. And so during your meals, some really cool things you can do to kind of biohack the feast, as you will. Again, protein first, then veggies, then carbs, and then fats. This controls your body's glucose spikes and drops. There was a cool study out of Diabetes Care in 2015 that said eating protein and vegetables before carbohydrates will reduce blood sugar spikes by up to 73%. That is huge. Slowing down your eating. Everybody's just shoveling food in their face, chewing it up and swallowing. Maybe it's not even fully broken down at that point. So chewing 20 to 30 times. Put the fork down between your bites. This will improve digestion. Your body will produce the enzymes it needs to actually pre-digest this food, and it will reduce overeating. Using bitter foods before or during a meal, arugula, lemon, ginger, dandelion greens stimulate stomach acid and digestive enzymes. And then again, if you're going to have alcohol, drinking wisely, avoiding the sugary drinks. If anything, keep it clean with some water, and making sure you're hydrating in between. Electrolytes with water in between is another great option. And then again, after eating, the recovery mode is everything. So going for a 10 to 20 minute walk is going to literally burn the glucose you just ate. Journal of Physiological Anthropology in 2020 said walking after meals improves blood sugar more effectively than metformin in some cases. And so that's awesome because everybody's getting put on metformin for something that you can literally achieve by walking. Using a sauna or like a hot bath or a hot tub is going to boost blood flow. It's going to lower inflammation, activates a lot of those detox pathways as well. High dose omega-3s lower inflammation from processed foods. Digestive enzymes, and if you need support with this, we're happy to be a resource for you. Digestive enzymes help break down those larger, richer meals without the bloating afterwards. Another cool one is activated charcoal is a great binder. So if you are ingesting a lot of these things that have toxins in them, it can help prevent that digestive distress. This isn't something you would do daily. It's more of an occasional thing, maybe every month or something like that. But again, I think the thing to focus on is if you don't know what to do, ask for help and get some resources. We have this on our website at alessifunctionalhealth.com. And then a little bit of a bonus here, right? Some other cool functional medicine hacks. Berberine is a great way to improve insulin sensitivity and reduce glucose spikes. So taking this before more carb-heavy meals, which around the holidays tend to be all of them. Red light therapy, 10 to 15 minutes, is going to reduce inflammation and boost mitochondrial function. Cold exposure. Post-meal cold exposure increases insulin sensitivity and metabolic rate. So if you're in a state that's cold, just go outside and walk in the cold. Now you're doubling up on that insulin sensitivity. Protein shake before parties. Again, that's my hack, is before you go to a party where you're going to eat a ton, drink a 50-gram protein shake. Guarantee you eat half as much as you were going to do before. And then sleeping, right? Let's make sure we prioritize sleep, not stress. Because if you're not sleeping, stress will raise cortisol. High cortisol plus high amounts of sugar ingested will lead to inflammation and metabolic dysregulation. And so another thing is detoxing through the season, not after. Again, it's why wait until there's a fire to go buy a fire extinguisher. Maybe just try to avoid starting fires. That's the approach here. So detoxing shouldn't be like, oh, I'm just gonna blow everything up over the holidays and then detox after, I'll be good. You're gonna put a lot of stress on your system and your organs. Instead, you can focus on daily detoxification to get you through the holidays more healthily. And so daily detox looks like hydration, electrolytes, sweating, so either exercise or sauna use, 25 to 35 grams of daily fiber. Cruciferous vegetables like things like broccoli and kale and Brussels sprouts are going to help activate that detox. And then some of the more powerful things are things like milk thistle, which is an herb for the liver, NAC or glutathione, which are powerful liver support detoxifiers. And so really the final takeaway from all of this that I want everyone to take home today, if you took nothing else, is that you don't need to be perfect during the holidays. You just need to have a plan. And if you support your blood sugar, your gut, your sleep, and your detox pathways, you can enjoy the holidays, but enter January ahead of the game and ahead of everyone else. And I promise you it is worth it to make that little bit of sacrifice now. And so thank you again for tuning in to Health Decoded. I hope this episode provided you with some really good actionable things and some value. If you know anyone that would benefit from this and would like to hear this information, please do share. As always, we ask that you subscribe and like the show and follow it. That helps us to reach more followers and spread the word to make a bigger impact. If you're interested in any of our functional medicine services or any of the other cool things we do within our clinics, go to alessifunctionalhealth.com and you can book an appointment with me. As a podcast listener, we always give exclusive discounts on labs, blood work, tests, and consultations and things like that. We are more than happy to help. And as always, if you have questions, you can send those over to us at ask@alessifxhealth.com. Happy to answer those, and often we answer those live on the show as well. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm Dr. Alessi, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Decoded, where we break down the truth about all things health and empower you to take charge of your well-being. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. For more resources and personalized support, visit us at alessifunctionalhealth.com and sign up for our newsletter. To hear your questions answered live on the show, send them to ask@alessifxhealth.com. That's ask@alessifxhealth.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your health is in your hands.